Hey guys, this is Samuel T. Geek, and for the first time in a long time, I'm getting new viewers. I started uploading things during the pandemic, and the pandemic is still ongoing. But because a lot of the topics I've been talking about for the past couple of years have ranged from much different issues than when I started on YouTube, and the fact that a lot of my older subscriber base has grown up or moved on, I get a lot of questions about my older content, as well as questions from people who used to watch my older content about things that have happened. So I thought it was appropriate to make like this big video that answers a lot of the questions that I've been getting on streams and personal, contacts on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter over the years, just to catch everybody up. And now I'll have a video that I can just link to so that people get an idea of what has happened, because I went quiet for a long time where I would upload very, very infrequently, like 2 or 3 times a year, and I don't say any updates, and I would give like a little update here or there, and it was like an 8-minute video or something. So for my old viewers and my new viewers, I'm going to go over the basics first and then go into the history of this channel and who I am, because I kind of came out of nowhere again and didn't give any context. So, who am I? I'm Samuel T. Geek. Why did I start making YouTube videos? I started making YouTube videos because it was the cool thing to do in 2006 and 2007 when YouTube was very, very young. In case you don't know, YouTube started as a dating website in 2004, 2005, and then became a video sharing website. And it was the first easy-to-use video sharing website. It had a lot of compression, like very, very heavily compressed videos. So even someone like me, who was on dial-up, could reasonably watch them. It had a 10-minute time limit, and the videos had to be in 4:3 aspect ratio. So it was very easy to share very low-quality clips on YouTube. This also made it a vlogger's paradise. At the same time, video cams, webcams were starting to be built into computers, and they were very, very cheap, and being sold at Walmart. And at that time, MSN Messenger and places like, and apps like that were just integrating video chat for the very first time. So a lot of people were using these new webcams to record short videos to put on YouTube, and they were very, very bad quality. I was inspired by Attack of the Show on G4 and Tech TV. There was the predecessor to Attack of the Show. I can't remember the name of it. And it had Chris Pirillo on it. There's our good friend, the air conditioner. I apologize. But that Chris Pirillo was one of the first people who really introduced television to YouTube. He moved when Tech TV got purchased by G4. He moved exclusively to YouTube and Ustream. He was the first major content creator to take that dive, and I followed him from there. I discovered the Angry Video Game Nerd. I discovered a couple of very tiny vloggers who gave me the idea that even I could do this. Samuel T. Geek was not the first channel that I created. The first channel I created was Evil Lizard 91 off of a terrible username that I created in elementary school, because back in the day, you were told never, ever to use your real name, even your first name, on the internet. Of course, all of that has gone out the window. Facebook kind of changed that forever. But for a long time, it was common wisdom to never, ever use your name on the internet, even your first name. Obviously, I broke with that trend when I decided to create Samuel T. Geek. Much to the chagrin, by the way, of my parents when they found out. They were very upset with me when they found out that I created Samuel T. Geek. Basically, my first YouTube channel, I uploaded a video of me and my friend pretending to fight, and it got a lot of negative feedback, and I removed the video. And about a year later, I purchased a webcam, and I tried recording a video. I was inspired by this very small YouTuber at the time named Gamer Girl with a GURL 96 or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, she was a couple years older than me. I thought it was really cool that she was talking about playing video games and vlogging, and it was just a normal person. It wasn't a big act like Angry Video Game Nerd, and it wasn't like a former television person like Chris Perillo. And I decided to try and make a YouTube video. I recorded on my grandmother's computer at the time because it did not work on my home computer, the webcam that I purchased. I uploaded a very, very poor quality video. It later got deleted. I deleted the video. Then I spent a very long period of time. It was just before high school started. It was my sophomore year of high school. Right before my sophomore year, I really got into PC versus Mac videos. And there was this guy named Kost, K-O-S-T, and he made very, very entertaining videos. Unfortunately, he had a lot of dark demons in his closet, and those were exposed, which caused him to go away from the internet forever. There's almost no trace of him on the internet now. But I found him particularly entertaining. He was a very big Mac supporter. There was a couple of PC guys I followed as well. There was this guy named Suns, who I still every now and then comments on some of my stuff, SUNNZ. And there were also a couple of other people that inspired me. And when I got enough money to finally purchase my own personal computer, I purchased an iMac, and that iMac had a webcam in it. I was still on dial-up, so it was still very difficult to upload videos, but I now had the necessary means to do so. So I made as many videos as possible because I had a very difficult time in high school adjusting. I grew up in a very low-income, working-class neighborhood, and my father finally got enough money and built a home in a more middle-class, upper-middle-class area, and we moved out of the city into a semi-rural area that had better schooling. And when I got to the new school, I brought a lot of the old attitudes with me, and a lot of my new classmates did not appreciate that, and I never really fit in high school because of that divide. Needless to say, the culture shock of going to that school never wore off, and I wanted to escape, and my escape was escaping to nerdy stuff that I enjoyed on the internet, and all through most of high school. That included making YouTube videos. So I would make YouTube videos and either upload them all night through dial-up, or I would go to the local public library because I was part of the Boys and Girls Club, and the local public library was connected to it. I would go to the local public library and use their internet to upload YouTube videos. And that's how I got a lot of videos done. I would record like 7 or 8 videos during a day. That's why often you'd see me wearing the same clothes. And I would rapidly upload as many YouTube videos as possible. So that's how the YouTube channel started. And I was one of the very first tech/gaming vloggers. They're now everywhere. But those two communities used to be very separated. The Mac versus PC guys and the console war guys. Obviously, those were the two hottest topics at the time. I had an Xbox 360 and a Wii, and those were the consoles I spoke about. I did get a PS3 eventually, but those were the two consoles that I had at the time when I started the channel. So that's how Samuel to Geek started. It was a passion project of a very excited 14, 15-year-old. And today, it's just some has-been YouTuber who just makes vlogs because he can. Well, the next question now is, how old am I now? Like I said, I started this channel when I was 15 years old. I am now 28, so this channel is about 13 years old. Started in 2007. That is still crazy to me. I still can't believe it's been that long since I recorded that first video in my grandmother's house on a very crappy $20 webcam that I bought from Walmart. It was actually on the day after my brother's birthday. That's always what I've found hilarious about this channel. So the whole reason we were at my grandmother's house is that we were celebrating my brother's birthday. And when I went to buy his birthday present at the store, I also bought a webcam for myself, which is how the YouTube channel started. I'll never forget that day. So, I am 28, and I have been on YouTube so long, and I've seen so many things through how this website has evolved. And obviously, I've been associated with many different websites and things over the years. So a lot of people have questions about what happened to some of these projects. First, I'll answer the biggest one. How did I join Freezecracker? So, for those who don't know, for about, I joined in 2008, and the project ended in 2014. So, about 6 years, I was affiliated with a website called Freezecracker. So, Freezecracker was started by Jeff Mendocino as a anti-screw attack parody website, and then evolved into its own sort of thing. I believe the story goes that Jeff was a part of Screw Attack, or was somehow affiliated with Screw Attack, and then was no longer allowed to be part of Screw Attack, which caused him to create Freezecracker. I don't know all the details. You'll have to ask him, but that was the case. And Freezecracker in the early days was known for the Irate Gamer. The Irate Gamer was a very similar YouTube channel to that of the Angry Video Game Nerd. I actually got a lot of flack when I first joined Screw Attack. I was actually advised at the time from one of the people I looked up to on YouTube, another person who inspired me to get into YouTube, Big Al 2K6. We don't really seem, we're not really on good terms these days, I guess. We got into a couple of political arguments around 2014, and ever since then, he blocked me on Facebook, and I have never spoken to him since. I have no way to communicate with him. I have no ill feelings towards him, but he no longer wants to talk to me. And a lot of issues did start with this. He heavily advised me not to join Freezecracker because apparently some person pretended to be another vlogger and told Jeff that he had permission to post videos, and it turned out that person was faking and wasn't actually that person, which caused a lot of controversy, combined with the already existing controversy of Irate Gamer. A lot of people were upset at the Irate Gamer because at the time he was one of the very first partnered YouTube channels, and YouTube, I mean, at that time it was frowned upon to be a partnered YouTube channel because you had advertisements and it was seen as selling out. Google had just recently bought YouTube. YouTube used to not be part of Google. And when that happened, they introduced the partner program to earn money. And the Angry Video Game Nerd did not have partnership, but the Irate Gamer did. And that was a huge source of contention. And it got Freezecracker a lot of fire. And so did the claims that this person that Freezecracker stole this person's content, which wasn't true. It was basically a mix-up. Basically, Jeff was tricked by those folks. And therefore, when I was asked to join the website and I decided to do it, I did lose quite a few friends here on YouTube. But it ended up being a very good decision in the long run because Jeff helped me out a lot on YouTube and introduced me to a lot of things and people. And Freezecracker was a very important part of my life. I met a lot of very important people through Freezecracker who are still great personal friends to this day. Jeff, I still consider a very good friend. We don't talk even close to the amount that we used to. Obviously, we have moved in very different directions in our lives, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes friendships drift apart, but I still visit his streams every now and then, and I consider him a very good friend of mine. So, as of what happened to Freezecracker, well, Jeff slowly started to move in a different direction. He was very focused on his personal life. Many of the other creators of the website moved in their own directions as well. And it got to the point where I was the only one updating the website. And I was updating very infrequently, mostly just trying to keep our press credentials alive by taking review copies and press releases and posting them to the website. And one day, Jeff decided to not renew the domain to Freezecracker. And I respected his decision, and Freezecracker was no more. We did try to revive the forum part of it a couple years ago, and it only lasted like a week or two. There was just not enough interest. Video game forums just aren't as popular as they used to be, and there was just no interest in the forum, and there was a huge forum split on Freezecracker, which I'll get into later. The next project, actually I'll get into it right now. The next project people ask me about is Final Smash. So, Final Smash was a website created by my friend Adrian, who goes by Depunked now, who runs the Blue Rupee podcast. At the time, Final Smash was a spin-off website of a website called Server Crashers, which was spawned between an internet beef on freezecracker.com in the forums. There was a huge beef that happened between members of the website, and one of the members accused the other member of crashing the server of the website, and Freezecracker basically split in two and half of those people went to a website called Server Crashers. And Server Crashers began to be, so it's hilarious. So Screw Attack basically was the anti-Destructoid. Freezecracker was the anti-Screw Attack. And Server Crashers was the anti-Freezecracker. And that was a rebel website, and it was ran by Carson Mao. He was a very big content producer on Freezecracker until that incident, and half of Freezecracker's forums went to Server Crashers. Server Crashers lasted like a year or two, and then fizzled out. And basically, Adrian wanted to keep it alive by making a gaming version of it called Final Smash. And when Final Smash debuted, Freezecracker was in its twilight years, slowly fading out, and I wanted to help Adrian out. So I did make a couple of videos and written reviews for Final Smash. Unfortunately, just like Server Crashers and Freezecracker, interest in the website went down very quickly. And to keep my press credentials alive, I then turned to my good friend Christian Cowell, who had the website Crasscast. Crasscast was a website that focused on primarily all just video games, and it was purely video game news and video game reviews. The website was mostly a UK website, and when I pitched myself to join Crasscast, I tried to pitch myself as the American version of it. I tried my best to fill the content of the website as much as I could. We did, for a while there, had a lot of content. We had American content, and we had at one time we had three podcasts. We had Crasscast, which was the UK podcast, Americrass, which was a show with me, Sigma, and Neo GameSpark, and whoever else I could get on at the time. Basically, Neo GameSpark was the biggest draw, and he's the biggest of any of us these days. And there was also Crass Down Under, which was an Australian podcast. Crasscast I kept alive as much as I could with Christian until one day renewing the domain just didn't seem worth it. I had slowly started to drift out of making any content, and Crasscast slowly just faded away. I know that Christian did try to revive it about a year or two ago, and then decided not to pursue it any further. So that's what happened to Crasscast. What happened to the Game Fanatics? The Game Fanatics was another website that I was affiliated with for press credentials. The Game Fanatics was started by a guy named Charles. It still exists to this day and still makes news and video game related content. Basically, I left the Game Fanatics after basically being fired. At that time period, the Game Fanatics had a very, very intense, for the time period, freelancing, freelancing obligations. They required you to upload like 2 or 3 articles a week, unpaid. And I also needed to make videos for it, but I also wanted to continue to make videos for the other websites that I was creating content for, and I was not doing a very good job keeping my obligations to the Game Fanatics. the final straw was that I had a review that was very late for Protect, a Connect cover. And the editor of the website, the editor of the reviews portion of the website, not Charles, was very upset, thought I was too critical of the product, and I disagreed with them, and it turned into a little spat on the Skype chat, and we both agreed that it was probably good for me to leave the website. But I have no beef with Charles. We're still friends on Facebook. We don't really talk anymore, but I did meet some amazing people at the Game Fanatics. Brittany was a very amazing content creator there, and Michelle, who we talk every now and then, and I did interview her about Instagram and some other things a while back, and she's an awesome content producer as well. But the Game Fanatics was an interesting website. I never really got involved with that community as closely as I did with Crasscast, Freezecracker, Final Smash. I didn't make as many friends there. I was kind of an odd one out at the Game Fanatics. But it still exists to this day, and if you want to see the content, some of it is still on the website, but most of it was deleted. So that's those were the press. Now you're probably asking, if you're newer to YouTube or the content creation sphere, why I was affiliated with so many websites. Well, back in the day, YouTube was not considered a serious platform. So even though at the time I had an insane amount of views on YouTube for the time period, I should say, like, it used to be very, very difficult to get 10,000 views on YouTube. And it used to be very, very difficult to maintain the amount of views and to maintain the amount of content that I was putting out. But unfortunately, no one took it seriously. It was all about Alexa score and having your own website. So what YouTubers did to get press credentials back in the day was create websites together, put content on those websites, get people to go to the website and click the embedded player, and raise the Alexa score so that we would be considered on the same level as press. Press hated us for this. Traditional press media hated us for this. But people like me and Jeff and Charles and Christian and Adrian, we were some of the very first people to help break the ice on YouTube content creators being considered media. Before that, at that time period, we weren't considered media. But creating these blog websites through platforms like WordPress, we were able to utilize that with the embedded function on YouTube to help bring YouTubers to be considered serious media. So before that, at that time period, we just weren't. But I was one of the first YouTubers to be at places like CES and Comic-Con and E3 as a press member. So that was pretty cool. And as an independent media press member, because at that time you had to have some sort of media credential, but we were able to break that. And a lot of people followed that model until a lot of these companies that a lot of these gatekeepers in the press decided to finally recognize YouTube for the platform that it is and how it has changed internet media forever. So blogs were considered already like a second tier level of interactive content. YouTube was below blogs. And now blogs are considered even below YouTube in a lot of ways. So if it wasn't for folks like us, you would have never seen. I think the one who really broke the model, though, was Machinima. Machinima in 2009 really broke it's the notion that YouTube couldn't be press, but we were just on the bleeding edge right before that. So that was really cool. Now you have whole websites where you could just, it's amazing to me, you could just log in to the website through your Google account and you're considered press. That was unheard of back in the day. This influencer stuff never even occurred to us. So it's truly crazy to me how far things have come and how seriously YouTubers are now treated. And I'm happy. I'm really happy that we got to this point. So, some more personal questions. Samuel, are you Mexican? Was a common question that I got on quite a few videos back in the day, and even especially by people who didn't like me. So the answer is it's complicated. I am technically part of the Mexican diaspora. I think that's how you say that. My family, I'm an 11th generation New Mexican from the state of New Mexico. And my family lived there for the 20 years that it was part of Mexico, but it was only part of Mexico for 20 years. And they were there for about 200 years under Spanish rule and have been there well over 100 years under American rule. So, I mean, I would say that I guess you can consider me Mexican. I mean, I think more than anything, I would like to be considered New Mexican, or Hispanic, or American, because my family's been part of America for almost 150 years, you know, like, so, but, you could say I'm Latino or Hispanic. I'm mestizo, and I do have Mexican heritage, but I wouldn't consider myself Mexican. The traditions of New Mexicans are very, very different from the traditions of Mexico. For instance, we don't really have Day of the Dead. We don't celebrate a lot of the Mexican holidays because they honor events that took place after New Mexico left Mexico. And, there's lots of holidays where that's the case. Like New Mexico was just part of Mexico for such a short amount of period of time that we don't have that shared history. But yeah, Dia de los Muertos, all that stuff. A lot of that stuff is Aztec culture combined with Spanish culture, and New Mexico has no Aztecs. It was very separated from Mexican culture because New Mexico was incredibly isolated in the northern part of Mexico, and there was just almost no contact with Mexico City. Even Chihuahua, which was the largest populated nearby state, had like hundreds of miles of uninhabited desert between the two. So my family just didn't have any contact with Mexicans, and with the rest of Mexico, I should say. And as many New Mexicans at the time, they didn't really support Mexican independence because northern Mexico heavily relied on the Spanish crown to finance the weapons and military and supplies necessary to keep New Mexico safe. And when Mexican independence happened, most of New Mexicans did not support Mexican independence, and the ones that did so very cautiously because they were afraid that Mexico could not supply the same amount of support that the Spanish crown did. Unfortunately, they were right. After Mexico became independent, New Mexico got a lot of the shaft, and there was wars with the native peoples in New Mexico, which caused New Mexico to fall into an insanely impoverished, damaged state. And when the Mexican-American War happened, America easily took New Mexico. So it's a very complicated question about whether I'm not a Mexican. Like I said, if ethnically I am Mexican, like a lot of my Native American side, there's things that make me brown and have, the squinty eyes and the big nose and the big weirdo ears that come from being of Mexican heritage. They come from the native peoples of Mexico. I don't know which Native Americans I'm affiliated with. I'm more than likely Hinazo of origin, because I took DNA test and my Native American, I literally have Native American heritage from every Mexican state, which likely means that the Native American side of me comes from slaves. So it is what it is. Have no real connection to Mexico, though, other than that 20-year time period. So there you go. Some other questions. Where did I grow up? Obviously, that was kind of answered in the previous question. I grew up in northern New Mexico, just north of Santa Fe, Rio Arriba and Santa Fe County, and that's where I spent my entire childhood for the most part. I did live in Maryland for 1 year when my father worked in the Washington, D.C. area. I did live in Albuquerque. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But other than that, my entire childhood, even going to college, was spent in that little part of New Mexico. So that's where I grew up. That's where I lived. That's where I worked until I was about 25 years old when I moved to Arizona, and that was the first time I moved out of the state of New Mexico. So majority of my life I lived in New Mexico. That probably begs the question, why do I live in Maryland? I moved to Maryland for graduate school, but I didn't move to Maryland. Actually, I moved to Maryland for politics. I originally moved to the Washington, D.C. area for graduate school, and I first moved to Northern Virginia. In fact, the crazy thing about YouTube is that my first living situation here in the eastern United States, I lived with a fan of my YouTube channel. And when I said I needed a place to live out in the Washington, D.C. area, one of my fans of my YouTube channel contacted me and said, "Hey, Samuel, I know you need a place to stay. How about you just rent this extra room I have in my apartment, and you can stay here with me while you try to find a more permanent situation when you're going to grad school." For 6 months, I lived with him, and then I moved to Maryland. But yeah, if it wasn't for YouTube, I would have had a very difficult time moving to the Washington, D.C. area to go to graduate school. So thank you, YouTube. Other things. So other people ask, what are my favorite video games? My favorite video games are the Fallout series. It was the first real rated M game I played on my own on Windows computer. The first Fallout, and then I played some Fallout 2. But I didn't play it super seriously when I was that young, because I was very young. I didn't understand that much of it. I loved StarCraft. That was another rated M. Was it rated M or was it rated teen? I can't remember. But it was another mature game I played on PC. And then I loved Pokemon. Pokemon, to this day, is still one of my favorite franchises. I play Pokemon all the time. I love the card game still. I love Pokemon. I never really grew out of it. There was the black and white time period I did not like, even though for some reason people here on YouTube think it's the best time period of Pokemon history. I heavily despised black and white. I think trying to retcon the series was a huge mistake, even though they did it way more successfully in X and Y. But yeah, I love Pokemon. Pokemon taught me how to read. I'm not even joking. When I was in first grade, Pokemon had just came out, or first, second grade. I learned a lot of my vocabulary from Pokemon. A lot of it. I was learning how to read, and Pokemon helped me learn to read better, because you had to read in order to play the game properly. So I learned tons of vocabulary through Pokemon, and it got me to be the avid reader that I am today. So Pokemon has always been a favorite of mine, and I heavily appreciate it. What do I plan to do with this YouTube channel? Basically, I'm going to keep making some content. I have invested in some new things, as you've seen, this microphone, this webcam, capture card. I have wanted to return to YouTube for a very long time. I just didn't have equipment that made it easy. So these things have made it easy, and now I can return to YouTube in somewhat regular fashion. Obviously, I'm still very busy, especially with some pandemic stuff, but I really enjoy YouTube. I still watch it. It changed my life, and it also opened my eyes and my world. I would not have been the same. I would not be the person I am today without YouTube, and I am endlessly thankful for this platform. It has taught me so many things. I can't even describe it. So I want to give back any way I can, and I thank any of you who are still watching this insanely long YouTube video. Some of the controversies that I would like to talk about. I'm saving this juicy stuff late into the video. So, El Presador, where do we stand? Me and El Presador have been pretty much cool ever since the Let's End It Bro video. The Let's End It Bro video started because there were people that were getting severely hurt by the drama between me and El Presador. By that I mean their accounts being hacked, people being doxxed, really, really heavy stuff that me and El Presador never intended was happening, and I was only 16 years old, and I didn't want to see this happen because most of my fans were minors too, and I didn't want to see this happen, so I made that video with my very insanely long hair, calling for a truce with El Presador, and he respected it, and that was the end of the drama. After that, there was no more drama between me and El Presador. Like any YouTube beef, it was mostly all kind of fake anyway, just us trolling each other. But it was all in good fun until it wasn't, But it was a lot less serious than the stuff I see nowadays, like between H3 and Leafy and all these other people. Man, YouTube drama has gotten insane. But it is what it is. So, what about Blackbuster Critic? Blackbuster Critic made a video on me that was 27 minutes long that I still have not watched. I've debated watching it now as an adult, but at the time I did not care to watch a 27-minute video on myself. At the time, 27 minutes was a long time. Now I watch hour-long documentaries on YouTube, and I make hour-long YouTube videos myself. So obviously I don't think it's that much of a deal these days. But at the time, I thought it was insane for someone to make a 27-minute video. So what can I say? It was a response to a rant video that I made because of drama I had with P-Bone. P-Bone's actually super cool with me even to this day now. But I know that I upset a lot of people when we had that drama, even though my friend Adrian was responsible for a lot of things that I got blamed for. I didn't even do most of the things that people were accusing me of doing to P-Bone. It was all Adrian. But, it is what it is. I never really had a beef with Blackbuster Critic. He never really made any subsequent videos after I made me laughing at the fact that the video was 27 minutes long. But there was no beef, really. I mean, it wasn't personal or anything. And I understood that. It was just trolling. Based on the title and thumbnail, I just imagine he called me fat for 27 minutes, which I am fat. What can I say? Well, who is that other big person I beef with? Gangster Gamer actually made a comment the other day. In case you guys didn't know, there was this small YouTube channel named Gangster Gamer 97 who made a bunch of videos on me, basically calling me fat, and they were very humorous at the time, and he kept begging me to do a video on him, and I just refused to. I just didn't do any video on him, but he really, really tried to make me do a video on him. So here's your video. I did the rant. All right. Well, with that, I think 46 minutes is an insane amount of time for a YouTube video, so I probably should end it here. If you have any more questions, maybe I'll make a Q&A, but here's an frequently asked questions about me, about my past, and I hope that answers a lot of them for you. Samuel out.